When talking about management system standards such as ISO 14001 or ISO 9001, two terms will often come up: conformity and compliance. These terms, conformity and compliance, are often used interchangeably. But are they the same, or is there a difference? Let's take a look. Welcome to EMSmastery, where we look at the successful strategies and tactics to master environmental management and sustainability. If we're meeting for the first time, my name is Andrew Marlowe. In this episode, I'm going to be looking at the terms conformity and compliance, which are used interchangeably, but are they really the same, or is there a difference? Now, the common habit of using the two terms interchangeably means that many are unaware of the subtle differences between them. This is a common mistake prone to many of us, whether we are new or have experience of the subject. It is likely that our use of the terms conformity and compliance synonymously is a fitting example. At first, it may seem that to conform and to comply essentially mean the same thing, notably to agree to do something or to follow certain rules. However, the strict definition of these two terms illustrates something entirely different. In general English, the term conformity is often simply considered to be the harmonisation between a person's behaviour and the standards of a particular group. Take, for example, a person conforms when he or she seeks to adopt the same behaviour, beliefs, attitudes and practices of those in the group or of wider society. Conformity for taking a party photograph is that everyone should be smiling and making friendly gestures towards the camera. As opposed to a state of compliance, conformity is not prescribed by a legal body. In fact, refusal to conform is viewed as an act of independence or rebellion. If a person does not conform to certain society norms or conventions, they face rejection. And so it is with the use of conformity in management system standards, such as ISO 14001 and ISO 9001. Looking towards ISO 14050-2020, which is the ISO standard covering the vocabulary for environmental management, we can find that clause 3.1.16, conformity, is given as the fulfilment of a requirement, and equally non-conformity, defined in clause 3.1.17, is a non-fulfilment of a requirement. It should be remembered that clause 3.1.15 defines a requirement as a need or expectation that is stated, generally implied or obligatory. An example of conformity is when an organisation can demonstrate that they hold a management review, thus meeting the requirement given in clause 9.3 of ISO 14001-2015, that top management shall review the organisation's environmental management system at planned intervals to ensure its continuing suitability, adequacy and effectiveness. So we can see that conformity is very much linked to the achievement of the requirements within the applicable ISO standard. Finally, it is fitting that certification bodies are often referred to in ISO standards as conformity assessment bodies, further cementing the link between standards and conformity. If you're getting value out of this episode on conformity and compliance, please hit the like button. So, that is the meaning of the term conformity. So what about compliance? The term compliance implies a more formal, serious type of act. It is defined as an act or process of adhering to and fulfilling a given order or command. Compliance recognises a situation where certain rules or orders have been met. Think of an example of the police carrying out the commands or orders of another individual within the police force, or more likely a government organisation to ensure that a protest is in compliance with local laws. It can also relate to a body charged with legal responsibilities, such as the Environment Agency in England and the Environmental Protection Agency in the United States. Compliance, then, means that the person fulfilling the order did not have a choice in the matter. And so it is with the use of compliance in management system standards such as ISO 14001 and ISO 9001. Looking to ISO 37301 2021, which is the ISO standard covering the requirements for a compliance management system, we can see that clause 3.26, compliance, is defined as meeting all of the organisation's compliance obligations. And equally, non-compliance is given in clause 3.27, where it is defined as the non-fulfilment of compliance obligations. It should be noted that compliance obligations are defined in clause 3.2.9 of ISO 14001 2015, and they're defined as the legal requirement that an organisation has to comply with, or other requirement that an organisation has to or chooses to comply with. An example of compliance is when an organisation is seeking to move hazardous waste in the United Kingdom. They must complete a consignment note in accordance with Regulation 35(1)A of the Hazardous Waste England and Wales Regulations 2005. Completing the consignment note is to be in compliance with this regulation. Failure to complete a consignment note is an offence under Regulation 65C, which would be considered to be a non-compliance. So, we can see that compliance is a specialised term linked to the meeting of a legal requirement, or to use the term from ISO 14001, compliance obligation, to further reinforce the meaning of compliance. So, to answer the question posed at the beginning of this episode, what is the difference between conformity and compliance? Within ISO standards, there is a clear view that conformity seeks to refer to an organisation that meets the requirements of a standard such as ISO 14001, whereas compliance relates to a situation in which an organisation fulfills a compliance obligation or legal requirement stipulated by a legal or higher body. So, how should we use the terms conformity and compliance? For the term conformity, it would be correct to say our management system is in conformity with ISO 14001 2015. Or to say we have conformity in our management system as there are no non-conformities present in our audit. And finally, our internal audit demonstrated the conformity of our emergency preparedness procedures. It would not be correct to say our management system is in compliance with ISO 14001, or to say we have compliance in our management system as there are no non-conformities present in our audit. Or finally, it's incorrect to say our internal audit demonstrated the compliance of our emergency preparedness procedures. For the term compliance, it would be correct to say our hazardous waste movements are in compliance with the Hazardous Waste Regulations 2005, or all our waste operations are demonstrated to be in compliance with the relevant regulations. Equally, it would not be correct to say we are in conformity with the Hazardous Waste Regulations 2005, or to say all our waste operations are demonstrated to be in conformity with the relevant regulations. Further information on the terms conformity and compliance are given in the description box below, including a link to the resources on the EMSmastery.com website. If this episode has helped to advance your understanding of the use of the terms conformity and compliance within ISO standards, please subscribe to this YouTube channel to ensure that you don't miss out on other episodes on environmental management and sustainability. Until then, thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this video, you can watch other episodes by clicking on the boxes in the top and bottom right, and to subscribe to this channel, please click on the link to the left. Thank you.